let's set the scene. It's the 25th year of the Babylonian exile. It has been 14 long, hard years since Solomon's beautiful temple was completely destroyed. You can imagine hope is probably in short supply. But it's right here, in this moment, that God gives the prophet Ezekiel this absolutely stunning vision of the future, a revelation of hope that we're about to walk through together.
So, in this vision, Ezekiel finds himself on a high mountain, back in Israel. And there he meets a guide, a man whose appearance, he says, was like shining bronze. And this is the instruction he gets. It's a command not just for Ezekiel, but really, it's an invitation for all of us to pay super close attention as we join him on this incredible tour.
Okay, so before we dive into the blueprints, we gotta understand the measurements. The guide is using a special measuring rod, and it's based on what's called a long cubit. Now, this isn't your standard 18-inch cubit. No, this one adds a handbreadth, which makes it closer to 21 inches. And that little detail tells us right from the start that what we're about to see is built on God's scale, a much grander scale.
The very first thing the guide measures is this massive outer wall. We're talking about 12 feet high and 12 feet thick. Now, a wall that thick isn't just for defense. Its main job is to draw a very clear, very distinct line, separating the holy space inside from the ordinary, common world outside. This place is set apart. And just to help you wrap your head around the sheer scale of this place, each of the 3 outer gateways has a footprint of 5,000 square feet. And get this, they stand about 120 feet tall. That's like a 12-story building. I mean, the size is just staggering. It's designed to fill you with awe before you even take one step inside.
You'll also notice the whole complex is built in tiers, so you climb 7 steps to get into the outer court. Then you go up another 8 steps to reach the inner court. And finally, 10 more steps lead you up to the sanctuary itself. Every single ascent is symbolic. You're moving into a space of greater holiness, literally and physically drawing closer to the presence of God.
At the top of that second set of steps, we arrive at the inner court. It's a perfect square about 200 by 200 feet. And right there, smack in the center, totally dominating the space, is the altar of sacrifice. This is the absolute heart of worship for the whole complex.
And the altar itself, wow, it is a massive 22-foot-tall structure. It's built in these ascending levels, with steps on the east side just for the priests. This is where the sacrifices would be prepared and offered, a constant, visible reminder of the seriousness of sin and the path to cleansing.
So after Ezekiel gets the full tour of the building, he witnesses the absolute climax of the vision. Just as he had seen God's glory leave the first temple from the east, he now sees it return from that very same direction. He says the sound was like a roaring ocean, and the whole earth just lit up with God's radiant presence as it filled the temple.
And this is the crucial point, right? The vision is about so much more than a building. It's God himself, speaking from the heart of this newly filled sanctuary, making a declaration. This isn't just a temporary visit. This is a promise of his permanent, restored, and eternal presence with his people, forever.
And just when you think it couldn't possibly get any more incredible, another miracle starts to unfold. Ezekiel is brought back to the entrance of the sanctuary, and he sees it. Just a little trickle of water, flowing out from underneath the threshold, heading east.
So the angelic guide measures at a distance, and that little trickle is suddenly ankle deep. He measures again, and now it's knee deep. He measures a third time, and it's up to Ezekiel's waist. After one last measurement, it has become a mighty river, too deep to cross. And the crazy part? There are no other streams feeding into it. This is a supernatural river flowing directly from the very presence of God.
So where does this amazing river go? It flows east down into the Dead Sea, the most lifeless body of water on the entire planet. And it heals it. The salt water becomes fresh, suddenly teeming with fish. And all along its banks, these fruit trees spring up, bearing fresh fruit every single month. Even their leaves provide medicine. It is literally a river of resurrection life, bringing healing and abundance everywhere it goes.
Now, this new era of God's manifest presence also comes with new rules for worship. And one of them is fascinating. It's about how people move through the temple courts. To keep things orderly and reverent, it's a one-way flow. If you come into the north gate, you have to exit through the south, and vice versa. There's no turning back.
The vision also talks a lot about a figure called the prince. Now, this is a really important distinction we need to make. See, earlier in the book of Ezekiel, a messianic prince, who's called David, is clearly a divine figure. But the prince described in these later chapters, he's a mortal man. He has sons, he has an inheritance, and here's the key. He has to make a sin offering for himself. So it seems he's a just, civil ruler who governs under the authority of the Messiah.
This brings us to probably one of the most debated questions about Ezekiel's temple. I mean, the New Testament is crystal clear that Jesus' death on the cross was the final, once-and-for-all sacrifice for sin. So, why on earth does this future temple have a functioning altar with animal sacrifices?
Well, scholars have a few different theories. Some suggest these sacrifices will act as a memorial, kind of like how communion serves the church today, as a powerful way to look back and remember the cross. Others think they might be for cleansing ceremonial uncleanness for the mortal people still living in the kingdom, allowing them to approach this holy place. They could also just be a very physical, tangible lesson on the gravity of sin, offered by mortals to express their faith in the one true sacrifice of Christ.
But the vision doesn't just stop at the temple. Nope, it expands to include a total reorganization of the entire Promised Land. The land is divided into these perfectly equal parallel strips running east to west, with one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. It's a brand new, divinely perfect order.
And right at the very center of this new layout is a special, holy section of land set apart for the Lord. It includes portions for the priests and the Levites, an area for a central city, and right at its heart, of course, is the sanctuary. The prince also gets land on either side of this holy portion, which ensures a just government at the center of it all. So with all of these incredibly precise details, the measurements, the sacrifices, the division of the land, the biggest question still hangs in the air. How are we supposed to take all this? Is it a literal blueprint for a building that will one day exist? Or is it all purely symbolic?
You know, there are basically four main ways people have interpreted this vision over the centuries. The figurative view sees it all as a rich spiritual metaphor for the church. The historical view thinks it was a literal blueprint offered to the exiles when they returned, but they just never built it. The apocalyptic view sees it as a parallel vision to the New Jerusalem in the book of Revelation. And finally, the millennial view takes it as a literal description of a temple that will physically exist during Christ's future 1,000-year kingdom on earth.
This entire sweeping vision, from chapter 40 all the way to the very end of the book, it all builds to one final powerful revelation. After the land is divided up and the city is laid out, it's given a new name. And this name perfectly captures the entire point of the whole prophecy.
And there it is, the very last sentence in the entire book of Ezekiel. Jehovah Shammah.
So what does that mean? It's Hebrew for the Lord is there. And that is the ultimate takeaway. Whether you see it as literal or symbolic, every single detail, the massive gates, the ascending courts, the glorious return, that life-giving river, the perfectly ordered kingdom, it all points to this one profound, beautiful, and hope-filled promise, a future where God's presence will be with his people tangibly, powerfully, and forever.